and Jelena Kalas.
Thank you. In our abstract, we had this amount of issues that we have had with aggregating the dictionaries, and I'm talking only about one of them, the one in bold, turning dictionary-specific information into customization of a single dictionary. So basically aggregating several dictionaries into one. And then one topic that is pressing for us now, but which was not mentioned in the abstract because the abstract was written half a year ago, is concerns about the quality and quantity of information presented in the common dictionary, in the combined dictionary. So why we are doing this? I had to say what is eLex and what is Sõnaweb. eLex is the new dictionary writing system for the Institute of Estonian Language. And Sõnaweb is the portal for showing its results to the user. So these are clearly different systems. One is for the lexicographer for compiling the dictionaries, and the other is for presenting them to the readers. So why have we decided to put several dictionaries into one? We assume, after seeing several users over several years, that users look for information about language, not about dictionaries. They are not interested in what this dictionary says about language. They are interested whether this word can be used, how does it, what is its morphology, what are possible usage examples, and so on. We want to avoid duplication, both for the lexicographer, avoid duplication of work. So instead of two lexicographers sitting next door to each other and compiling the same head word for two different dictionaries, we would like them to work together. And of course, if they work separately, they will inevitably come to separate conclusions about the word. And also for the user, we don't want the user to see two conflicting dictionaries from the same institute and being confused. The same for sponsors. If they ask, why should we give money to you again for yet another dictionary, then it's difficult to explain. And we want to make it realistic to compile dictionaries in a modern Corpus-based way, so that a bigger and more concentrated working group will get it done more realistically. The difference between what we are doing, the one dictionary, and what we have been doing before and what many people are doing, the aggregated search, is that in aggregated search we take several separate dictionaries and show them together with all their differences to the end user. And the end user has to make sense of all the differences, why are there the differences, how to make sense of them, and so on. What we do is we take the same dictionaries, we combine them into one, and then present this one to the end user. Obviously, there is a lot of work involved in creating this combined dictionary. In some cases, lexicographers tell us in development meetings that no, this is not realistic, this cannot be done. It's not that it will take 10 years' time. They say it cannot be done, period. Briefly about the data model that we use. Generally known data models are onomasiology and semasiology. One of them has several meanings for one word, and the other has several words for one meaning. We try to make them, we try to accommodate both in the same data model by having a many-to-many relationship between word and meaning, so that one word can have many meanings, like the word table here, and one meaning, like the meaning of the data structure with rows and columns, can have several words designating it, and both are described in the data model at the same time. And this is done in the relational database using a link table. And initially we thought that this link table is simply a technical link table. But it turned out that we wanted to attach more and more information to this link table instead of word or meaning. And so this became the central entity in our data model, and it's defined as this word in this meaning in this dictionary. And I'll come back to why the third one of them is especially problematic. What we start out with, we started importing old dictionaries, or not old, like completed end of last year, into the new system. And the initial result was that the same word and the same meaning was described simply several times, as many times as there were dictionaries that were imported and that contained that word. For instance, this is almost realistic example translated into English from two dictionaries. A dictionary of Estonian, which is the largest Estonian explanatory dictionary, and Basic Estonian Dictionary, which is meant for language learners. So these two both had the head word cat, and the first meaning, the only meaning for the Basic Dictionary and the first meaning for the large dictionary is the furry animal that people keep as a pet. And each of them had usage examples, and each of them had one definition. So the first thing that we did, what was relatively straightforward, we united the word. We decided that it's the same word cat. It's not two homonyms, it's the same actual word. The next thing that was a bit more complicated was deciding that it's the same meaning. It's the same animal that people keep as a pet. And we united that. So after this stage, we had one word, one meaning, and two descriptions of it in two different dictionaries. And this was presented to the user. As I said, we have this many-to-many relationship, which is not understandable to users. So to normal dictionary users, we show the lexeme, the link table, and the meaning together as the meaning. So that the first meaning of cat contains these two definitions and these three usage examples. The same for the second dictionary. Again, these two meanings and, in this case, two usage examples. And this is very confusing for the users. Users ask, why is the meaning duplicated? Because they see two meanings if they select two dictionaries to search from, based on their old assumption that I need to search from all dictionaries, not just the combined one. And why does it have two nearly identical definitions? The definitions are repeated. Why? And this is even among people, not people from the street, but lexicographers who have actually been present in all development meetings and who know the data model very well. And what I discovered was that when I tried to explain this situation to them, I got confused myself as well. So this is fortunately not the final step. What we do after that is we also combine the dictionaries. And this now is the interesting part of combining the dictionaries. It's not anymore saying that this dictionary has these usage examples and that other has those others. And usage examples are just an example here. It could be just as well be equivalent, word class, whatever information. And this, of course, leaves the situation that we need to resolve these two definitions manually. In this particular case, since one of the dictionaries is the big academic dictionary and the other is a learner's dictionary, we assign a level of simplicity to each of them and say that the first dictionary is the full, the detailed definition, and the second one is the simplified definition. And then in Sõnaweb, in the end-user portal, we try to find out who the user is or what kind of information need the user has. And if it's a language learner needs a simplified view, then they will select the simplified view and only see the simple version. Another view for the same unification of dictionaries. On this picture we have 6 dictionaries. Each of them has started from compiling the head words, then adding the definitions, then adding possibly examples, then some of them adding collocations, some adding morphology. And they all contain, at least for head words, they contain the same information, or information that should be the same, or at least compatible. What we did first, we united the head words, and we called it the backbone of our dictionary system. In our case, Estonian head words, but this is the system itself is not Estonian specific, so head words of any one language. And these can be divided into various classes, like language levels or frequency classes, or even more detailed classes like head words that do have collocations. Then we added morphology, which is also done. We have a central morphological database which provides morphological information for all dictionaries. Then, as I have just shown, we combine the meanings and resulting in one meaning having more than one definition with different simplicity classes. Then what is almost being done, or at least should be done, is centralization of the usage examples. What already has been done is collocations, so that we don't anymore have a separate collocations dictionary, but simply entries in the combined dictionary have collocations. And then equivalents should also be centralized, but that is work in progress. And now I'm getting to the pressing issue that we have now, which you might also have opinions about. We compile the new combined dictionary in a corpus-based way, so that we take information about new words, about missing words from the corpus, and there are various corpora, which has given rise to the question, how many head words approximately do we want to have in our dictionary? Is it 60,000 as in the most popular currently Estonian dictionary? Is it 150,000 as the big explanatory dictionary? Is it perhaps 200,000 as an expanded explanatory dictionary? Or is it 1 million, a nice round number, coming from the corpus? Or is it 6 million as the largest number that we can, a largest number of distinct lemmas that we can find in the current corpus? Or if the new Estonian corpus will be crawled later this year, perhaps some larger number of millions. And this is caused partly by Estonian productive compounding and derivation. It's possible to create new words on the fly. Competent Estonian speakers can create new words as they speak, and then this raises the question, should they all be in the dictionary? Or what is the criterion when to include the word in the dictionary, if it can be created on the fly anyway? Also, if we do create, if we, for instance, take the conservative number of 1 million as the goal, if we do add 800,000 new words from the corpus, then we don't have any information about them at this stage, apart from the corpus frequency and corpus examples. So what is the minimum requirement of lexicographers for an article so that it could be considered a proper article? Should it contain a definition, equivalence? If it's a bilingual dictionary, are equivalents mandatory? Or is it also a valuable piece of information for the user that this word is under consideration but does not have equivalence recorded yet? And also, what is the minimum quality of the information presented? Especially if we take material from the corpus, then it contains all kinds of errors. Errors from the original text, like typos, simply ungrammatical use. Errors from processing the corpus, like tokenizing errors, post-tagging errors. We get example sentences that are politically sensitive, like referring to domestic violence in a positive way, or referring to some religious organizations in a negative way. And we have already got that kind of feedback, that you have, this usage example is wrong. And this comes from a rights advocate group or from a church, for instance, that you have depicted our faith in the wrong way in your official dictionary. And one large source of noise is distribution and semantics, which we will, or which we are already using for creating synonym dictionary. And this will give synonym candidates that are very distant, to put it mildly. And that's it, what I have for now. These are the 4 authors. The other authors are sitting in the 3rd row here, and thanks also to the European funders.
Thank you, Arvi. We have time for questions.
Thanks. Very nice. I have 2 questions, actually. One is linking. So linking can be done if you have a monogamous entry, so just one sense. Mm-hmm. Linking is supposedly simple. So if you did this job already, do you know how, what percentage of vocabulary or headwords in your dictionaries would be handled in this, let's say, easier way than polysemous ones? That's okay, yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't. Good question. It would be simple to look up, but I haven't done that. You are probably referring to linking of the words, right?
Well, from the first slides. So when you have to link entries from different dictionaries, mm-hmm. and in different dictionaries they might have just one sense or several senses.
Yes, the answer is in 2 parts. First, we need to link or in our case, combine, not link, that we will not leave the 2 things separately and link them. Yeah. We will actually combine them. And first, we need to do that to the words, and this is simple. We have used the heuristic that if the big explanatory dictionary only has 1 or doesn't have any of this word, then it's probably 1 homonym. It's not legitimate more than 1 homonyms, and we unite the word. This is based on the assumption that homonyms are the most frequent words, or among the most frequent words of the language, and it's unlikely that the big explanatory dictionary has missed any of them. So if, for instance, the explanatory has one and some term base also has one, then we assume that it's the same one. But the second part is linking the meaning, and this is more complicated, because even if we or I or whoever thinks that it's the same meaning, there may be people who disagree. And crucially, the author of that other dictionary may disagree, especially if it's a term base. If I have the entry for cat, and then biology dictionary also has entry for cat, then they will most probably be very unhappy with our definition. They will say that you are not referring to this actual animal, you are referring to a class of animals. And, or vice versa, that for us cat is a class of animal, for you it's a pet. So linking meanings is much more complicated, much more error-prone, and I wouldn't dare do that even semi-automatically. It will have to be done completely manually, by actually getting the people together and agreeing, like the biology people and the general dictionary people getting together and agreeing, is it the same meaning or not? Or should it perhaps be two meanings, having the broader and narrower link between them?
Okay, so you actually answered my second question already, because
Okay.
It was about manual versus automatic.
Yes, the words were almost automatic, and the meanings are completely manual.
So we have time for one question.
Thanks. I have a similar question, and it's been answered partially already, but I'll ask it anyway. I'm interested in how you unify word senses from across different dictionaries, because that seems to me like exactly the one and only reason why your lexicographers might be telling you that this project can't be done. Because you've shown the example of cat, which is a referential noun. It just refers to something or denotes a class of objects in the physical world. So these tend to be probably pretty easy. But then if you go into the domains of abstract nouns and verbs and adjectives that signify qualities and subjective judgments and emotions and things like that, it must be hugely difficult to unify word senses from across different dictionaries if the different dictionaries have different authors and they decide to kind of cut the continuum into different sections. If I were you, I would give up before I started. So, you've partially answered that already, but I would like to see a lot more detail. Can you maybe not do a paper about this for a later conference or something like that? It seems like this is exactly the one thing where your project is really hugely ambitious.
Yes, I admit I am crazy, and this unification of senses is definitely not doable across different classes of dictionaries, like general dictionary and term base, for instance. But it might be doable across term bases in neighboring fields, for instance. It might be doable, or it actually has been shown to be doable across general dictionaries compiled in the same institute with at least some administrative power to get the working groups into one. Like actually putting the working groups together and getting them to agree on the same meaning. In that case, it can work. But if you think that this is the reason why people say it's not doable, no, they haven't got that far. They say the unification of homonyms is not doable. Which is, for me, it's relatively easy. The automatic part is, automatic 5 seconds, but even the manual labor that needs to be added, in case of Estonian, it was about a person week. And the same could be done for Russian, for instance, which we have problem now. Like I showed in one of the slides, we don't have equivalents sorted out yet. And we mainly have Russian equivalents, partly for the reason that Russian is an important foreign language for us, and partly because one of the sponsors was concentrated on Russian. We have lots of Russian equivalents, and homonyms in Russian are not combined yet, which again creates a lot of confusion for user. Why are there repetitions? And what for the user is repetition of the same word, for us is two separate words of the same form. The problems might even be bigger than you suggested.
Thank you. We have to stop here. So let's thank our speaker again.